Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. All right, who do we have? Looks like we have 14 people in right now. All right, looking now. So I was away from the charts for lunch. I'm just looking back to see sort of where we are or where we traded during the lunch hour. So we had lunch hour start right around this corner, right in the center of these of the last breaker that we were using, and we saw price trade above the high of the morning, which was just around 11:30. So just before lunch, it created a high when it traded above the New York high. And now we see that high was eclipsed, still inside of the bearish breaker on the 1 hour. Also the bearish fair value gap on the 1 hour, which is inside of another bearish fair value gap on the 1 hour, a much larger one. But if we just focus on the interior fair value gap, which is inside of the blue, where we see a breaker, would it be in 1 hour? I would expect it to hold, or at least expect it to be relevant for quite some time this morning or this afternoon. And it so far has been. We've traded back into it. So we originally led off with the opening bell, trading into it at 9:30, selling lower. And we saw price just kind of work its way back up. It created also a 3-minute breaker as well, which it traded into a couple times between 10 and 10:30, selling off lower about 25 points. During that time, I said, I'm not really happy with this breaker, only being able to generate 25 points below a couple times, 2 or 3 times. It traded into it, but it didn't want to break lower. So I wasn't really optimistic about this breaker here, but still being aware of the 1 hour we had above. And so it traded back into that 1 hour one at 10:58. Sold lower, traded back in at 11:30, and then just kind of consolidated until we went into lunch. So I'm going to remove this 3-minute one because I did put a level here that said 3-minute breaker block invalidation, 18,936. So if we got to close above that, then I was willing to get rid of this one. We did, so that is no longer relevant. So we'll get rid of that. We were looking at a potential 1-minute one that was created just before lunch as well, right here. This one is, let's see if it's been invalidated as well, because that invalidation would have been at 9:39, and it has. And so we'll get rid of this one as well. All right, so now we're looking at breaker was at 929. We're already at 900. So there's 25 points already delivered off the breaker for anyone who saw that and believed in it and trusted it to deliver. So you would have had about a 15-point stop, 25-point there. All right, so we saw it deliver here at 104, entered in at 101. So it's about a 3-minute trade there. Ten, we'll do that. Go back up to the 5-minute here. Dumani, good afternoon. What's up? Um, I was pointing out that the 3 minute and the 1 minute, we were looking at those before lunch, and those have been invalidated since the lunch hour. So I deleted those off the screen here. So those are no longer valid here. But the 3 minute, I think, if you're just asking where was that 3 minute one, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was. I think it was here, like 8:36 to 8:45. Right. And so we were trading in that just before lunch. We were sitting in that area. And I mentioned it wasn't going to be invalidated unless when it made the high that then created the low, unless this level got invalidated. And so that happened just before lunch, where it was invalidated. So we're no longer looking at that 3 minute breaker there. So the only breaker that I'm looking at right now is the one that was created on the 1 hour. They were bearish, Queen. They were bearish breakers. Right. But ultimately, if we zoom out and we just get to the 1 hour here, we'll see that essentially price is just trading in between the two fair value gaps. So we have the bearish fair value gap above, have the bullish one below, all of this below. So the green and the pink. And ever since Friday around lunchtime, we traded into the pink area, traded back down into the bullish green area, back up, back down, and now we're back trading into the bearish area. So we've been essentially consolidating here since Friday afternoon, and price is not broken out yet. And that's why we see these sort of 50-50 conditions right now, because price is kind of trapped in this area, has been for 2 days now. And so right now I'm focusing on this 1 hour bearish breaker that was created Thursday midnight to 4 a.m. candle on the 1 hour, midnight to 4 a.m. The early hours of Thursday. Oh, what's up, TJ? Yep. Queen, your 5-minute bullish breaker, which candle are you using for that? I If it closes above, does it invalidate? On the 1 hour, it will. But one thing you have to pay attention to, Robin, is, well, let me go to the hour. Maybe it's easier to see it there. All right. So this make it a lot easier. You have fewer candles. All right. So this is your breaker here. So price breaks below, closes, and then you're waiting for the trade back in for it to go lower. And so, yes, if it trades above, it invalidates the breaker. However, we do have to at least account for this section right here. Everything above the breaker until the high. Let me make this a different color so it's easy to see. Let's go with this purple color. This area can still be traded to without invalidating breaker. So it could trade up into this area, reject, trade back down, and validate. So what I would wait for, so Robin, if it trades above the breaker, in my head, I'd be thinking, okay, potentially this is invalidating the breaker. However, I'm accounting for this area to be traded into. So now if it trades above this area and closes, now it invalidates the whole setup. However, if it trades into here, I can either take an aggressive entry, which I can have a small stop loss here and hope that it continues lower, or I can wait for it to revalidate the breaker. So I can wait for it to trade back lower and close below the breaker again, and then re-enter for a push lower. So those are the two options, but it doesn't immediately invalidate just because it traded above the breaker, because we do have this area here that price will trade into often during a breaker setup. In fact, this is more likely the times when your breaker fails and you lose your trade, but then it still goes in the direction that you thought it would. It's because it trades into this section. So my favorite breaker setups are the ones where this section is the smallest possible. I don't like it when it's very large. And looking at this, the range is about 50 points. This section here is about 50 points. Now, granted, this is on the 1 hour, so you got to take that into account. And so for that, what I would likely do when it moves into this area, I would look for another breaker on a lower time frame that has a smaller area, so my stop loss can be smaller. But that's this orange area that I have marked up, is that price can and will oftentimes trade into this price leg. Right, we can even see it did it here. So it traded and closed above the breaker at 4 o'clock this morning, only to then trade back lower, and at 9:30 run up into the breaker. I'm sorry, on this candle, run up into the breaker to push lower. So in that case, this candle at 4 o'clock hit the consequent encroachment of this price leg. So I try to move this out of the way just so it's not so busy. But I'm always aware of that area just above the breaker that price could trade into. Yep, Robin, you're absolutely right. It did close above at 4 a.m. this morning. You're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oops, let me go back in here. Yeah, Robin. So a lot of times when I see these, when I see the breaker set up, the ones that give me the most comfort about this area that's above, so I don't have to worry about price trading back up here and stopping me out. I like it when it does this. It goes high to low, then it creates this high, and on its way down, I like it when it gets somewhere in here and it trades back up, clearing out most, if not all of this, balancing price, then go down to confirm my breaker and come back up. And then I can trade lower. Because while it was trading lower, it passed equilibrium. Sometimes it'll put a wick out, but not close below the breaker and then trade back in. I love it when it does that because then at least I know that it's traded into this area prior to it confirming my breaker. So when I take the breaker setup, now I can put my stop above the breaker and say, if it comes above the breaker, then I'm out. But that doesn't always happen. But when it does give me extra comfort. And with the exception of the opening bell, we have pretty much consolidated since 6 o'clock this morning. Yeah, Queen, I agree. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe later on this afternoon, but we definitely need to get through this little fury we're dealing with right now. I mean, what we see today is oftentimes what is described as price action on a Monday. $9.15 if it gets triggered. Okay, buy limit at $9.15. Almost there. Right, it's 125 at the moment. About 5 minutes, we'll make sure our lunch highs and lows are still intact, and then we'll look for one of those to be targeted pretty soon after that. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at the dollar. All right, so during lunch, it did find support in that fair value gap. I thought that it would and would push higher. All right, so I would expect for price to push back and challenge these daily highs on the dollar. So the 10 o'clock high up at 104.57. That's where I'm expecting price to push up to, again, challenging these bearish fair value gaps to see if they push price lower once again, or if it's able to push through that. All right, once again, as you look at the three indices, Nasdaq is looking like the strongest of the three. Yep, it's having the hardest time pushing lower out of the bearish fair value gap here. We see S&P almost challenging the lows of the morning, the lows of the 10 o'clock hour. We're not even close on the Nasdaq side. And on the Dow, we see the Dow hasn't even made any type of bullish momentum at all. In fact, it's trading at its low of the day. So it's already taken its lunch low. Also has already taken the New York low, which we're still holding. The New York low is on Nasdaq and S&P as well. Oops. I stand corrected. S&P did take the New York low. So only Nasdaq has a New York low that's still open. Let's measure our daily range here. All right, so we're currently right around 61.8% on a retracement of the daily range, with the high being made at 4 o'clock during the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock hour. Yep. Yep. Yeah, lunch highs and lows are up. 18,900 for the low, 18,943 for the high. All right, equilibrium is the 830 low. Well, I'm sorry, the 830 open is right in the center point of the lunch range. So we're now going from a premium situation, trading now back down the discount. We'll see if the lunch low gets taken. It's now 130. Oh, okay. Oil and gold had some decent moves. Okay. You just missed out getting triggered. Did you get tapped in? Mm. Okay. Well, Milad, you probably looks like you probably just want to be more conservative given the price action we're looking at this morning. Yep, exactly. There's always another move. So we'll wait. All right, there's the lunch high. 943. During the macro, the 1 minute fair value gap. I'm sorry. Yeah, Queen, can you tell me your bullish breaker? What was that candle again? The 5 minute one? The fair value gap. So on the 1 minute. Okay, so you got it in here. Okay. 905, 915. Okay, thank you. Uh, oh, okay. I see. I see. Got it. Yeah, I got stuck on using these 3 candles as the bullish breaker because of it didn't make a swing high. The candle body started, it looked like it was a swing, but the wick went from here to here to here. So the swing for me is here. So the confirmation for this breaker would be now, this candle, 1335. Yes, that's the thing about the opening bell. I hate it when it does that. When you get these whipsaw candles that go both directions. Okay, actually, no, confirmation was at 1255 candle. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so your entry queen, actually, you got in on the 1 minute, but on the 5 minute, that would be a consequent encroachment entry, which is not too shabby. 25 points already. Yep. Yeah, today is one of those days where I'm going to watch unless something better happens. But I do love the 25-point wins because on a mini, that's still $500, which is not a terrible trade. Yep. Let's see if it comes back down and retest the midnight open and then respond from there. Yeah, this is kind of an iffy one here because we're still looking here. These are relative equal highs. So even though it took the lunch high, these are still relative equal highs to be traded back to. Okay, now you got tagged in. Got it. Must have moved your entry up a little bit. Nah, it's all good though. Glad you're in. Let's see if it works out for you, and we can go back for these relative equal highs. These 4 different candles. 1245 over to around 145. We still haven't hit consequent encroachment, so I know you guys had that as one of your targets up at around 950, so that's still up there. All right, dollar is still pushing higher at its highest value of the hour, getting close to where it was. I guess that was doing 10 o'clock hour. Yep, during the 10 o'clock hour, getting close to those highs, back up at the bearish fair value gaps above. Right, and Nasdaq for the third consecutive hour, we really don't have a candle body. We're just wicks. So let's quickly look at that as we get started here on the macro, and then we'll get back over. But on the far right, you can see for the last 3 hours, we really don't have a big candle body. We just have wicks for Nasdaq. We do have lower values being sought by S&P, so it's now taking out the lunch low, also the morning low. Over at the Dow is just, it's been bearish. It's doing its thing. So, however, if we look to the far left at the dollar, we can see the dollar is near its high of the hour and pushing into the fair value gaps above the bearish ones. So this is the second time testing that area. We'll see if it continues even higher than it was this morning, taking out the morning high from 10. And if it does, then we'll probably look for something similar over here on the indice side for lower prices. Assuming the dollar does push above these fair value gaps, looking to see where it could go next. I guess it likely will go for the swing high up at 104.6. But we do have these equal highs up here as well if it wants a much further target for later in the day or into after hours. But first things first, we need to close this hour strong. So we'll see where the dollar is in about 10 minutes, 9 minutes. So right now, let's switch back over and we'll watch the macro here. Yep, 18,900. That was the lunch low. All right, so lunch low now has been taken after the lunch high was taken. All right, so just before lunch, I thought that we may run, there was a trend line that ran up through here, and I thought we might run those lows. And so far, we've only run one, And the second one has been run as well, but that's as far as we've gotten. Mm. The price got hung up right here. To the tick. 1 minute inversion. Hmm. Yeah. So on the 1 hour, we had a market structure shift to the downside with the 9 o'clock candle this morning. So that was another reason why I was sitting on the bearish breaker, the 1 hour breaker. That was because we also had did a market structure shift at 9 o'clock. So the fact that it was unwilling to push lower from 10 until 1 o'clock just kind of told me to sit on the sideline and just watch price for a bit. And it looks like we do have that inverse relationship with the dollar as of right now. Let's go back over and take a look. All right, we can see the dollar still pushing higher, trying to get out of that fair value gap that it's currently in. After that, we have a swing high from yesterday at 5 o'clock, it looks like. And then after that, we're talking about these equal highs up at 104.75. So, right. And we do see dollar pushing even higher. We see the Dow, S&P, and Nasdaq so far. I know it's only been 2 minutes in this hour, but they're following suit, as well as if you look at their last hour candle, they're all bearish. Yep, you're right about that, Milad. That's exactly where it revisited. It tapped to the tick. This one right here. This 1 minute one. Tap down, what was that 10 minutes ago? All right. I think I'm going to switch back over to the 5 minute. We've pretty much just been in a range for this macro. All right. So now we can see pretty much all the trading since the opening bell here on the screen. a little push higher. I'm looking for a reaction around 930. 930, 932, somewhere in that range. Didn't quite make it to 930, got to 928, but it looks like it is starting to reject a bit. We still got another minute before the candle closes. It's on the screen, Shark. You can see not a lot. No, so far it hasn't really been arranged this afternoon. So since lunchtime, this is pretty much what we're facing. Yeah, Shark. I think there has been a couple who have been able to maybe scalp in this range here and get some wins this afternoon, but no sustained runs. Oh, you drew it too? Oh, okay. I just drew it just now, just because you asked the question, and I had to look at it one more time. And when I looked at it, it just kind of made sense to me. If it wants 945, yeah, could be. Definitely, Thomas. It's not been very exciting today. No major moves to talk about. No big breakers that has sent price, running 50 to 100 points, and yeah, not a lot to celebrate this morning or afternoon. But even if we don't get anything today, we'll have 2 of the 5 days done for the week, and it should make things a little cleaner or a little clearer as far as where the week may want to go. And as we start running out of time, just like we see at the end of the day when it's 3 o'clock and you see what the draw liquidity is, price only has an hour to get there. So there's only so much stalling that it can do. Likewise for the weekly. The closer we get to the back half of the week, if it hasn't gotten to its draw on liquidity, the more likely it's going to happen. So we got to wait it out. We have to be patient. I think what it's doing is, people missed out on trading yesterday. So I wanted to see if it could trip up those who are more eager to trade today. See if it can't grab some liquidity before actually doing whatever it's going to do starting tomorrow. But I'm still optimistic that maybe at 3 o'clock we'll get something good during the final hour today. All right, getting back down to the inverse fair value gap on the 1 minute. This one here. Below it is the new week opening gap. So that'll be back down to Sunday at 1800 opening. Okay, T trade, broadening formation. Let me look for that. Okay. Broadening formation. I thought it might be what I just drew up on the screen, Queen, and now I see it is. That's funny. He released it 3 hours ago. All right, we see the dollar. Dollar still pushing. 20 minutes into the hour now. Looking for that first swing high at 104.6. Right, we could see the next swing low from the pre-lunch that I said would fall. Let me just mark them all up so we can see them one by one. And, all right, we'll put this one too. Mhm. The 1 o'clock 5 minute candle may be a breaker. Close there, trade back inside. Boom. Yep, most likely is. I just remember when I used to mark these up, Queen used to always get on me and say that you didn't believe it. You're saying that it was a consolidation. So now I get super scared when I see price moving sideways and I find a breaker inside. It's basically down here, up, lower, closing, trade back in, hit 50%, lower. Yeah, makes sense. So you have a 5 minute breaker here within the hour breaker above. Yeah. Okay. Johan, no, today has not provided any entries that I like. So no, I have not taken any. All right. TJ just grabbed 35 points there. Nice one, Vivian. Yeah, I haven't even logged in today. Yeah, well, see, how yesterday was that way because it was a U.S. bank holiday, so the American markets weren't participating. So I understand yesterday, but then today I do remember ICT saying the day after the bank holiday, a lot of times you'll get this kind of price action. So it kind of sucks because you already missed one day this week, and now it is effectively almost taking you out of the market for a second day this week. But like I mentioned earlier, it does allow you to zero in on the time where price is going to be more favorable. So if we already have 2 days out of the way and we haven't had really favorable pricing, if you can identify the draw on liquidity, now you know that it's going to happen in the next 3 days. So it's not like Monday morning where you're looking and you have the entire week that it could happen. Now you know it's going to be between Wednesday and Friday. And you can start looking for those setups, especially with the news that we have announced over the next 3 days. So you look for those time frames for liquidity to be provoked. All right, so we got a break below, which is good. Let's see where it's going. Okay, it was this first swing point right here from 1035. Didn't quite break though. I think it got close to it by almost a tick, maybe two. Okay, so it did take this level. And as it's here on the 15-minute, it's the bottom wick of each of these candles that I have marked out. But on the 5-minute, those are swing points. All right, new week opening gap coming next. Oh, shark, you grabbed that one too? Oh, good job. Good short. Way to grab it. Yep. All right, we got another swing point taken. I was up reading the comments and didn't see that it had traded to another. All right, so now we have the new day opening gap from May 22nd. May 22nd, so this is last Wednesday, I believe. We traded into it and we hit consequent encroachment this morning at 9:45, and then we traded higher. Now we're back at the edge of the new day opening gap. We're about 15 points away from the New York low. So that was a low from the opening bell at 9:30. Okay, that's good to hear, James. Glad that you're making progress, and it's our channel is allowing you to be more patient and never quit. Uh, yep. There ever was a hindsight. Hindsight was when you have a breaker or anything on a 1 hour, trust it and take it. Okay, we got our next one. Only one remaining, and that is the New York low. There it is. There's the low of the day. Yep. Now, everyone, remember you're inside of a 1 hour bullish fair value gap here. So now that liquidity's been taken, if price wants to turn around, it could show you an entry model. So you don't take a long from here, but you do look and see if a long sets up, and then you take one. Very interesting times we have. It's now 2:40, so in about 10 minutes we'll have the next macro coming. So it's interesting that we start to see price indicating it might want to turn bullish for a short period, since we do have the macro coming in about 10 minutes. Go long from 843. So 1 to 1. No, I don't like that ratio. Yeah, Johan, there is higher commissions for the equivalent. So 10 micros versus one mini. Yes, it will cost more in commission for the 10 micros than the one mini. You're right. See how you say a random area. What random area are you referring to? Uh, yeah, well, I didn't see this as a random area because we're inside of a 1 hour bullish fair value gap, and we just swept the daily low, which is liquidity. So I didn't see this as a random area. Right. So I'll show you if we go to a higher time frame. So we're here, right? So we have this large 1 hour fair value gap, which was created during this bullish candle at 10 o'clock on Friday. We also had this, which was the New York low, session low right there, and daily low. And we have right here relative equal lows between this wick, this candle, and this wick, and this wick. So this section right here, which was the opening on Sunday. So for those reasons, I looked for a potential bullish setup. And again, I say it has to show a setup. It's not one that you just say, okay, we're in a bullish fair value gap, let's just go. Not to mention also inside of this bullish fair value gap, we just touch equilibrium for the first time. So price likes to trade to 50%. And here we are at 50% right here. But I do agree, randomness would be short lived, and it's probably trying to balance one particular time frame, and once that's done, then it's going to continue in the direction it was going. Yeah, okay, so you have a 15 fair value gap. So I'm looking at the 1 hour. But price will do whatever it's going to do. It will. And I didn't take a long. I'm still looking to see if it presents all the factors that I need to take a long. But I didn't take a long yet. So just because you saw the long tool being pulled up, that didn't signify an entry. It's just getting everything set up just in case I need it. Mm. Oh, sorry about that. Forgot we were in the macro. Let me move over to the 1 minute. Oops. This out of the way. But yes, if we continue to get consolidation here and no breaker is formed, then yes, it is widely believed that we will continue lower. We're headed into power hour. So we have the 250 to 310 macro. Then we have the 315 to 345 and then 350 to 410 to close out our day. Yeah, we'd like to see price push a little bit lower, but so far it has been reluctant to do so. We're still inside of the new day opening gap from Wednesday of last week, I believe. That Yeah, I found something on the 15-second, but I don't want to force it and feel like I'm forcing it. It's coming in and grabbing this. Just yep. Yes, Vivian, the 315 to 345 macro, it doesn't activate every day with the price movement. But ICT mentions that that macro likes to push price towards the midnight open. So if we haven't traded to the midnight open in quite some time, then usually that's what that macro will do in the afternoon. And so in our case, the midnight open is at 9:27. But we did hit it last hour, so I'm not sure it'll be looking for that level, but it could trade back to it. Uh, Levy 41768. It's in the description. In the description of my video. If you just click the link, it'll give you what you need. Yep. 1 minute fair value 835. Close above mitigation block 241. Still practicing. 846. Yep, that's what I had to, Queen. And that's what I was saying. I didn't want to force it, but that's essentially what we got. So we got a bullish breaker here on the 15-second. And that's another thing. Like I had to grab it from the 15-second, which already makes me a little nervous. Even though I've seen it work many times, it's just when it's less than a minute time frame, I can't fully allocate all of my confidence to it. But we essentially had a trade higher than sort of these previous couple candles here, a break lower, trade higher and a close, trade lower just to balance out this fair value gap here. So you got to remember we had this. Also on the bullish side, we didn't have a trade below the low that created the breaker. So it's still valid. And then it traded through on the other side. We got into the macro traded above, and we got the impulse out. Never got a trade back down, but it's still pushing higher. So the entry would have had to been somewhere in here with a stop loss below this low, which is where that's when everyone saw me set up this. I set this up based on this setup here with the low set up below here, but I wasn't willing to take that trade. But I was getting ready, hoping that a better entry would set up, and it didn't. So this was the only one that was available, and you would have had to take it. It's pretty much a 1-to-1 with nearly a 25-point stop loss and a 20. And you know I like to take 25-point TPs, so it's essentially a 1-to-1 trade here. Oops. Right, and so it did push out that 25 points, but yeah, I didn't like it, so it wasn't my entry. Whoops. Let's go back to the mid. Yeah, you almost TP'd out, Queen. You got to 879. Oh, let me get rid of this inverse fair value gap since it's been invalidated. All right, so right now we're retesting a new week opening gap from Sunday at 1800 again. Looks like price may want to trade above, but we'll see. Oh, sorry about that, shark. Let's see if we can't find something better this hour. So we're in the final hour here. Got about another hour of trading today. Nope, you're right. You can't get them all. And so just don't beat yourself up too bad. Dust yourself off and let's get back in it. All right, so it looks like here on the 1 minute, we got a rejection off the new week opening gap. Price couldn't close above. The next candle opened at the top end, closed below it, and now we're pushing lower again. So let's see if that's sustained and continues. We're now at 304. We got another 6 minutes in the macro. All right, everyone, we have an hour left. If you're enjoying the stream today, if you can hit the thumbs up and like the video for me, that would help out tremendously. All right, we just saw price trade into a small, tiny little fair value gap here. Okay, much smaller than I thought it was. It's about 2 ticks, it looks like. All right, so we do have a closure above the new week opening gap now. Hey, Skylar, what's up? 840 before shooting up. Yeah, that's about what I was looking for as well. So this sort of entry here, I was looking for it to trade back in because we do have this unbalanced price range right here. Let's see. It sure did. 881 and a half. Tapped. Shorted 905 to 990. Yep. Have consequent encroachment of that wick there. Come up to 881. Let's see if it goes higher. We got another 2 minutes in the macro. Yeah, let's measure this leg down. All right, Wale. All right, so we're back in the 1 hour bearish breaker here. Okay. We just completed the macro. So if we get down to the hour, I'll just show you what I'm looking at. So we have this bearish breaker that formed on Thursday, May 23rd, that we traded back into yesterday at lunchtime, traded below. We traded back into it during the London session this morning. We saw it crash lower, but we had a formation of another one during lunch or just before. So from this high down here, we had one. Oops. We had this leg down, which then saw price push higher and then push lower and close lower, traded back in, set around equilibrium for about 4 hours or so, from 10 until the last time it touched was 2 o'clock. And then that's when we saw price push lower. We're just now coming back to the edge of that breaker. 18,884 is the edge. So we have 2 hourly bearish breakers that we're trading towards. One from last week and one from this morning. In fact, depending on what happens during this hour, we may actually get a fair value gap here for a unicorn. Right, but this won't be confirmed until 4 o'clock, so I'll delete it until then. So we are still having the same issue that we've had since closing last week. And that is we have the 1 hour fair value gap above. That's bearish. We have the 1 hour fair value gap below. That's bullish. And price is trading in between both of them, just back and forth. Just going to pull this back some just so we have a cleaner screen. I think we recognize that there's fair value gap. I'm sorry, there's breakers above us. I don't want the screen to be too cluttered with graphics. Oh, no problem, Wally. Appreciate you being here and for participating, jumping in the chat and adding something to the community. Definitely. Yay, we got more than 50 likes. Sweet. All right, let's see if we get a trade back down to 844. Okay, so we're back at where the candle opened up. Oh, I get it. I get it. Hmm. All right, still looking to push and touch this OTE from the leg down starting around 2 o'clock. That's at 887 or 886 and a half. Okay. Equal highs. Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, Queen, talk to you later. Glad having you as usual. Okay, there we go. So we had these equal highs traded above, and now we're looking at optimal trade entry as far as the retracement from the leg down from 215 until 240-ish. So now we're looking to see if price wants to reverse here and push lower, or if it wants to continue higher. All right. Looks like maybe that's the indication it wants to continue higher. Let's get rid of this. There was also a fair value gap here, which it traded into as well. Well, almost traded into. Got close to it. Looking at the dollar and seeing if it's going to retrace from here. Did it just hit a level of liquidity where that's feasible? And it did clear this swing high right here. And so for it to retrace maybe back into this fair value gap, that would make a lot of sense here. And since we're at the final hour today, this may be what it does this hour: trade back down, rest in this fair value gap, and then close out the day there. And then we'll see what happens in after hours. That doesn't mean that's what it's going to do, but that's what it could do since it did just clear a pool of liquidity, a buy side liquidity there. And as we look at the others, finally, it looks like the Dow has maybe met some level of support to where it can look for bullish activity. It finally traded into a bullish fair value gap on the hourly, which is coming from Friday, May 3rd. Okay, so quite a while ago. So we'll see if that pushes prices a little higher. And if it does, if everyone else follows suit, or if we're going to continue to push lower this hour. We've already seen so far the first half hour, we saw price push up and then reject lower. And right now it's still trying to figure out whether it wants to go higher or lower. So we're still on the sidelines, still waiting to see where price wants to go. We have about 40 minutes left in today's session, about 40 minutes left to trade today. So we have this high as the next one to eclipse 18,905. Obviously, the midnight open 18,927 would be where we would like to see price trade to. So that would be buy side liquidity 18,927. First level. Again, 18,927, the midnight open would be buy side liquidity. Virtual private server. Okay, I don't think I've ever heard of that. Yeah, let me know what you find out, Loot. That sounds like something I at least need to know about. Yeah, I'm not familiar with virtual private server. 907. So we made a new high last, well, not a new high, but we did eclipse the previous candle during the last candle, but we did push back down, failed to continue higher and close higher. So we'll see if price wants to continue the current trend where lows are being protected. And this one. Now let's see where the next swing low forms. Okay, on the 1 minute, here's our protected low, 18,862. Now in discount from this range I was just talking about. Okay, got it. Uh, all right, so from 315 to 345, we didn't quite make it to the midnight open, but like ICT says, it'll move towards the midnight open, and that's what it did. From 315 to 345, it moved towards the midnight open, and that was as far as it got, about 20 points shy. And now we get ready for our macro. The final macro of the day, 350 to 410. It's coming up in about 4 minutes. right, here we go. Macro time it is. We're here. Yeah, I set up this long here in demo. I'm just want to see how things play out here. Looks like we might not get a return back down to the consequent encroachment value. It may just stay right here at the edge. So, you know, let's just see what happens here. 87. Yeah, I found one. I had been looking at this as this breaker here that was created this hour. And I felt like if we were still hovering in this area right when the macro started, that it could be a good entry. And obviously, as soon as the macro started, we were right where I would have wanted to get in, but I didn't have a limit order on. So it just the first second it ran out, and I set the limit order and hoped it would trade back in, but it wouldn't. It was just hovering up here. So I just took a market execution just to see what happened. But I did mention that this was on demo here. But the target here would be, what was it? Moving towards the midnight open. And so it basically eclipsing the high from about 20 minutes ago. Remember how I like to get 25 points out of a breaker? So I just set it up at the top of the breaker, and then that's where the 25-point TP is. In fact, let's just reduce our risk now and just go to break even. There it is. That was a low hanging fruit trade there. Just 25 points was right where we had already had a most recent high, a swing point. So it was easy to see that liquidity would be sitting there. But yeah, so we ended up on the 1 minute getting a unicorn setup where when price built out of these lows during the 2:30 to almost 3 o'clock, made it up here. We traded below this swing point right here, and then immediately recovered and traded above and closed. So then that created a break or a stretch it across. And I noticed we had a fair value gap right here as well, that had been respected when price traded lower. It traded higher there, and then traded back down here and just put a wick inside. So then that became the unicorn setup. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Um, but yeah, those I like them at the end of the day because, as I mentioned before, you basically have, like, we're down to, as far as Topstep is concerned, and as far as volume is concerned, a lot of volume drops out of the market at 4 o'clock. So if price is going to move to a certain area, it needs to hurry up and do it now. So that last macro of the day, is, I wouldn't call it safe, but you'll know pretty quickly whether you're right or wrong. So the free's been one of those days, one of those days. I could have just let it go and not taken it at all. All right, let's see it before we make it to 410. If we do strike that midnight open. As I speak, there it is. We did hit the midnight open. So All right, there's a consequent encroachment value again. Tapping that. Yeah, we're up to 960 now. Gone up near 85 points in 10 minutes. 85 points in 10 minutes when we damn near did that all day. Of the day, okay. So from the 4 o'clock hour, that would be 18,979. Yeah, close to it. That's like right here. All right, inside of the bearish breaker, bearish fair value gap, all of that right now. So we'll see if that holds price at bay or if it is able to push through finally. Yeah, Vivian, you're right. You stepped away for a second and it just kept running. It gave me my little 25 points and then it ran for another 60. Shark, not that I'm aware of. I usually don't know those things though. I usually rely on some other members here to let me know what after hours earnings are going to be announced. But let's see. Let's see if I can't get this heat map to open up for me. All right, doesn't look like any of the large companies I'm familiar with are announcing this week. So nothing really for me, but I'll show you just in a second what's going to be announced this week, and you can decide how you want to trade based on that. All right, so here we go. So here on the Earnings Whisper site, let me move my head out of the way. At the very top, so you have to pay for like updates and that kind of thing. So it won't really show you anything, but at the very top, you can click on Twitter. And if you click on the Twitter link, it'll take you to their Twitter page, which they do give this on a weekly basis. Let's see. Yep. So you can click on that, and this is what you're looking at as far as today, tomorrow, and Thursday, before the open and after the close. But none of these seem to be the larger ones that really move the market for Nasdaq. But you can check out their page, Earning Whispers, on a weekly basis to figure out which one you're looking for. And it looks like they have a lot more here as well. So visit their Twitter page, and it should give you everything you're looking for. All right, before we close out today, let's just take a look and see where we closed off on the dollar. All right, so dollar had a small pullback, which created a fair value gap here on the hourly, a bullish one. So we could see the dollar trade into the here, or maybe a little lower into the larger one, and then see more bullish momentum. So tomorrow morning, this will be an interesting uh, chart to look at on the hourly here for the dollar to see if it's still bullish or not. So earlier, what I saw was, price was breaking its way down, right? We had a pullback and we had a new low, but then we got a new high, which was just a wick. So I drew this here as potentially being a bullish breaker, but we didn't have any confirmation. But I see now we have confirmed this is a bullish breaker. We confirmed it during the 1 o'clock hour candle. And so if we see a retracement, so I would actually expect this first fair value gap to not hold, only because of the breaker, and it will want to trade back to the breaker, which would be consequent encroachment of the larger fair value gap below. So I would expect this to happen. And so it may do something like this here, then lower, and then back higher. But we'll see. We'll see tomorrow morning where price is trading and if it's already traded back into the breaker. Because not only do we have the breaker, but down here we have the fair value gap here, giving us the unicorn setup, as well as this one, the larger one. Okay, we got a lot of bearish pressure above us on all the indices. We'll just have to look at Nasdaq, since Nasdaq has been the strongest and has refused to push lower the way the other two indices have. We'll look and see if it wants to continue bullish as we head into tomorrow morning trading. So that's what we'll be looking for tomorrow morning. But we see where we kind of closed off at today. Price didn't quite run the daily high, but it did get up here within 15 points or so. There you go. 967. Yeah, about 12 or 13 points from the daily high. And it could still get it over the next 40, 50 minutes. It's just right now it hasn't gotten it yet, and we're getting towards the end of our session. See how it said a 15-minute fair value gap. So it hit a 15-minute fair value gap, consequent encroachment. Hmm. I don't know, unless he's talking about this one as far as it being the terminus of the trade higher. I don't see it. I'm not sure which one you were focusing on, Seal. 965. Oh, you're saying where the target was, where it ran to, up in here. Okay. This one right here. Okay, cool. All right, Shark, see you tomorrow. Take care. All right, everyone, that concludes our session this afternoon. I want to thank you all for being here once again. Thank you for your participation. And like the video, hit the thumbs up on your way out. If you haven't already, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so you're getting invitations on a daily basis and to get a reminder whenever we go live and you've forgotten. So just make sure you subscribe. The notification bell is on. And again, on your way out, hit the thumbs up so I know you like the video and so YouTube knows you like the video and we can start getting a bit more promotion from YouTube. Let's see, K Dorsey, JR. All right, everyone. Take care. See you tomorrow morning.